Alright. Hey kids, you're watching Season 0. I'm here today with someone I admire. Someone who directed a little movie I like to call Angus. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Basically, you discovered Dawson from Dawson's Creek, pretty much.
Yeah.
You discovered
James Van Der Beek is my fault. Hi, James. Actually, James came to an audition for Angus, and he was still in school and everything, and he was kind of on the edge of making a decision, or I guess his parents were on the edge of making a decision as to whether or not he was going to get to continue acting. At least that's what he told me after the audition to try to get the job. Now he did a great job in the audition, but he did lay it on me that, dude, if I don't get this job, I'm toast. My parents are going to make me go back to school. And it's over for me. And I'm like, oh man, he got me right where I live, right? So gave him the job, and he did a great job. And then and then he became rich and famous and never called me again. So no, it's not entirely true. He called for a while, but then as he got more famous, he called less and less.
And did you?
Hi, James.
And did you ever call him mafia style? It's like, now's the time I have to ask for a favor. And he's like, nope.
Actually,
sorry.
Actually, something like that happened. We won't get into that. It's,
okay.
Look, he got big. He blew up. But I'm glad for him. He had a good run there, and now he's got another good run. He's reinvented himself. He's kind of done the Shatner thing.
Cool.
No, James is he's a really talented guy, and I'm glad that, because I know he went through some dark times, but he was kind of off radar a little bit for that. Now he's like a whole phenom again, which is kind of cool.
Oh, good for him.
So, yeah, good for him.
Isn't he famous for being James Van Der Beek?
Well, yeah, I mean,
okay.
I feel partially responsible for him being James Van Der Beek.
You and Don, the creator of Chucky, you guys used to be pals.
Yeah,
and
what happened? Crazy.
What happened yesterday?
Yeah, we were at I walk into the sort of filmmakers' dinner before my screening, and I had taken a seat kind of away from the crowd so I could dart, because my screening was coming like right in the middle of the dinner, so I didn't want to disrupt that big long table that we had. So I'm sort of sitting down where there's nobody, and all of a sudden this huge entourage comes in, and I go, oh, this must be one of the big features. And I go, these people look familiar, and they all look very LA. And I'm thinking, well, not in a bad way, but just, you could tell that some of them look like studio presence, and you could feel there was a lot of coordination going on. And I thought, who are these people? And they all kind of sat down near me, and we all kind of waved, and all of a sudden the leader of the bunch sits down, and I'm just not really paying that much attention. And I hear, Patrick Reed Johnson? And I'm like, Don Mancini? Oh my God. Because I don't think I'd seen Don since our days at Universal, which would have been back in 1990 and 1991 and two and things like, it's like, and he was just, getting going with the Chucky films back then. In fact, he had asked me at one point if I wanted to direct Chucky 3, which at the time I was developing Dragonheart, and I had other things going on, so it was sort of one of those things where that would be so much fun. I would love to do that, but I can't go do that while I was betting that Dragonheart was going to happen. Of course, it didn't really happen until 6 years later, Yeah,
and in what circumstances?
Yeah.
You got to tell Marco. I've been sitting on this. You got to tell Marco about the test footage.
What happened was, I was originally going to direct Dragonheart, and it was my idea, and I developed the story and got Rafael De Laurentiis interested in it, and I tried. She actually sent my writing partner and I to Bora Bora for 14 days, all expenses paid, because she owned a hotel down there, to get us to write the script, because she didn't have any money, but she had a hotel in Bora Bora, so it's like, all right, that works. We got down there, and it was, first of all, it's paradise, so last thing we want to do is sit in a bungalow writing. And second of all, we did do some writing, and we did try, but I realized very quickly that I didn't have the voice for that particular script. I had the story. I knew what the story was.
You mean voice as
the voice of sort of medieval language, and even though I'm a fan of it, I would write it just good enough that it's terrible. In other words, there's nothing worse than something that's almost good enough. And I was just feeling like I wasn't hitting it. My tone was veering towards Monty Python. It wasn't happening. And so we got back, and I said, we need some help. And my manager also managed a guy named Charles Edward Pogue, who is an amazing writer, and Chuck totally gets this stuff, And so he heard the story. He said, I absolutely want to work with you. We worked together on fleshing it all out, and then he went off and wrote this script. And the first draft, we turned it into Universal on Friday, and on Monday we had a green light for the movie. I mean, literally, we were told, get on, tell us your production plan. We know you want to use the Henson Creature Shop and go to London, so get on the plane to London and start building this dragon so we can test it, and go to Spain with Raphael and start scouting locations. And it was just like rocket
just
like
you hit the ground running.
And so Raphael and I and a couple of my model maker buddies all took off for England, and the whole idea was to to set up with the Creature Shop, get a head, fully animatronic thing. It's about the size of a Volkswagen, that could work in real time. We didn't want to have to do any frame rate changes or anything. And the Heads of Creature Shop did the most amazing dragon head, and a neck, and then also a hanging foreground miniature dragon that we were going to do hanging foreground miniature landscapes and stuff, and we did all this in the test. But to do this test, after weeks and weeks and weeks, months of them working on this thing, they were ready to test it, and we needed someone to play the Dragon Slayer. Now, you have to understand, I already had Sean Connery involved to play Draco, right, to do the voice, and I had Liam Neeson in the wings to play Bowen, and I had Kenneth Branagh in the wings to play the young King Einan, and Elizabeth Hurley wanted to play the Kara. It was just it was the cast from heaven. I mean, it was unbelievable. But at the time, Universal, first of all, they were like, Sean Connery, well, how obvious? Can't we do something original? Like, how about Whoopi Goldberg? We can get her. And they literally were serious. They wanted Whoopi Goldberg to do the voice of the dragons.
Kick in the gut.
I was like, wait.
Whoopi Goldberg, but
I said, hang on. I mean, I like, right. And then they were sending the script.
You were questioning your voice if you were the right guy to write this medieval context.
Then the next thing, then they're sending it to Tom Hanks, and I'm thinking, look, sure, I'd love to work with Tom Hanks, but hopefully Tom Hanks is smart enough to know that this is so inappropriate for him. It would be, it's like Robin Hood with,
It would be out of sync.
And I was furious that they sent the script to him, not because I didn't want to work with Tom Hanks. Everybody wants to work with Tom Hanks, but I don't want to work with him on this. And I knew what his response would be. And I said, you guys are making fools of yourselves. He's going to read this. He's going to love it. And he's going to say, why did you send me this? And that's exactly what he did. He said, guys, this is really cool, but what?
That's a good sign, though. Like, if you both
I respect
talk to each other, but you still
I
have,
just
like,
respect the hell out of him for, because they would have paid him anything he wanted to do it.
And
but
he was hot at that point.
Yeah, he
right
was
after
super. It was
Forrest Gump.
right after. Yeah, no, it was right before Forrest Gump, because I was supposed to do Dragonheart in 1990. First of all, there was no CG. I mean, there was CG, but it was really limited. Well, first, let me go back to the test. So we do this test, and we needed someone to stand in for Bowen because Liam wasn't able to come over just for the test, and they sent over some young kid. The ICM London sent over some young kid that was just some new actor they'd found named Clive Owen, and and he was just Clive Owen, and nobody knew. I mean, he was just this young guy off the streets of London who was just starting out, and he was terrific and a super nice guy. But I've got all this great footage, which is very ironic now, of him sort of sitting around in a Dragon Slayer outfit for hours, like waiting for someone to even get him a cup of coffee while we're all fawning over the Henson Dragon and making sure it looks perfect, and he's just like, right, this is fun, But he was great. I mean, and he did a great job in the test. But Universal, first of all, I mean, I was supposed to make the entire movie for $15 million. That included Connery, Neeson, the cast, Jerry Goldsmith doing the score, the Henson Creature Shop doing this amazing dragon, but it was going to be done like Terry Gilliam style, hanging foreground miniatures and I said to them, look.
So that's your mindset, how you wanted it to
absolutely.
look. I said,
Brazil, very much like Brazil and right. I said, listen. And they're like, well, wait a minute, Steven Spielberg's doing Jurassic Park. Why don't we do it that way? And I said, okay, first of all, my best friend is John Knoll up at ILM. I'd already talked to him and all my FX friends about, could we do this CG? And they said, yeah, if you've got 7 years and about $180 million for the effects. Because at the time, to do a dragon, or even the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park, it was like...
That was a big step, Jurassic Park.
It was a huge step. And then to have something like a dinosaur from Jurassic Park talking as well, lip-syncing. So, in fact... A funny story about that. After I left the picture, a couple years later, Richard Donner came aboard, and by then Jurassic Park technology was, kind of commonplace. There, yeah. And he actually had ILM take the T-Rex from Jurassic Park and make it talk as a test, and it was apparently hysterical. I want to see that footage.
Yeah, I would love to see it.
But anyway.
With Sean Connery's voice on top.
Absolutely. I am the last one.
You do a really good impression. Well, when you were writing for him, they were kind of like, I can make Sean Connery say fucking anything.
Right, exactly. I'm puppeteering Sean.
I am a dragon and a sex machine.
Right. Well, the thing was...
And then Celebrity Jeopardy comes out years later, and you're like, motherfucker!
Well, yeah, and I don't even like his impression.
Yeah.
It's actually, that's kind of what's so funny about it. But anyway, the thing about it was, when I was talking to Sean about it, when we first met, I said, listen, what I really want to do is I don't want to stuff James Bond into the belly of a dragon. What I want to do is create a creature with your vocal timbre and your inflection and that voice of yours, but it's meant to be an animal, a giant lizard that is struggling to deal with this awful human gibberish, So it would be more like, and there'd be great volumes of air and guttural, this sort of, I am the last one. That kind of thing, where I wanted to use Sean as a character actor, not as Sean Connery having been swallowed by a dragon, which is kind of what they ended up with.
Yeah.
I mean, he did a great job.
Yeah.
But you would have.
I wanted it to be more animalistic.